Welcome to the Saying Ageless podcast, a show that will equip you with the major keys to achieve extraordinary longevity. This is your girl, Esosa E, also known as Raw Girl. I'm a certified nutrition specialist and board certified coach. And today on the show, we'll be talking about why personalized and equitable health matters. To get this longevity party started, we're going to chat with our guest today, Ashley Wisdom, who's the CEO of Health in Her Hue. I'm so grateful to have each and every one of you tuning into the show from all over the world. If today's show inspires you, I'm inviting you to go ahead and subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to get feedback, so any reviews are much appreciated. All right. Before we get into our next segment, let me tell you about the supplement that turned my one white hair back to its original color. Y'all know I'm always on the hunt for the best natural ways to slow aging and boost vitality. Well, I'm going to put you on again to one of my favorite longevity secrets, spermidine. Spermidine is a powerhouse compound. It supports cellular renewal, mitochondrial function, and longevity. Basically, it helps keep your body feeling youthful from the inside out. And the best way to get it is Primeadine. It is a premium, high-quality spermidine supplement that comes in both regular and gluten-free options. I always get the gluten-free one because I have a little bit of a gluten sensitivity. So if you do, please get the gluten-free one. Here's the exciting part. We're giving away one free bottle to a lucky listener this season. So please email us at support@TheRawGirl and let us know how this podcast has changed your life, what your favorite episodes have been. And we will draw from all the people who are messaging in, and we will send you a free supplement. If you don't want to wait, you can grab yours now at oxfordhealthspan.com and use my code RAWGIRL15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't sleep on this, y'all. Your cells will very much thank you. And the way that I take it is I take 2 of them each night, about 1 to 2 hours before bed. It's really great. It helps with sleep. You get the benefits of fasting while sleeping. It's amazing. Are you a woman who is struggling with horrible periods, fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, infertility, or unsavory menopausal symptoms? Well, in my Hormone Balancing Academy, me and my team can help you approach any hormonal challenges that you are facing from a holistic perspective. Don't take my word for it. Okay. You could visit our new website, sayingagelesscoaching.com, and you can listen to the testimonials of women whose fibroids have shrunk. They've reversed symptoms of endo, PCOS, heavy bleeding, and even succeeded in getting pregnant after struggling with infertility. If you or someone you know are interested in reaching your hormonal health goals with support this year, visit SayingAgelessCoaching.com to sign up for a free 20-minute call with a member of our team. We are looking forward to helping you live your best, healthiest life in 2025. Last but not least, Houston, Texas. Listen, I am coming over to y'all on April 26th to host the Womb Wellness Workshop. What every woman needs to know about hormone balance on April 26th, 2025. At the Society for the Africans in Diaspora, the SAID Institute. This transformative event will focus on holistic approaches to healing hormonal imbalances, fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, and more. I'm going to go in and really teach. I can't wait. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. Okay. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to tell people a bunch of stuff that I really feel like they need to know. We're going to have a mocktail bar. We're going to have some gifts for all attendees. We're also going to have light refreshments. And the event is $20. And that $20 is actually going to go to a donation to the SAID Institute. Bring your mama, your cousins, your friends, your aunties, okay? Anybody you know who's struggling with hormonal imbalance, please RSVP on our Eventbrite to secure your spot. There are people coming out of town for this. They've told me this, and I'm like, wow, I just told them. I haven't even really started spreading the word yet, but now y'all know. So if you want to come, please secure your spot in the Eventbrite, get your ticket. We will drop the Eventbrite link in the show notes and also in the description section of our YouTube links. Okay? All right, y'all. Without further ado, let's get it on with the guest. I am super excited to be speaking to Ashley Wisdom today. She's the founder and chief executive officer of Health in Her Hue, the premier digital health platform aimed at reducing racial health disparities by leveraging the power of technology, media, and community to improve health outcomes for Black women. Wisdom holds over a decade of experience working across the healthcare industry at companies such as Weill Cornell Medicine, NYC Health and Hospitals, and Junto Health. Her previous roles span grants management, clinical research, and consulting strategic healthcare investors. As a public health innovator and advocate for equitable access to quality care, Ashley has successfully raised over $4 million in venture capital funding to advance Health in Her Hue's mission. Under her leadership, the platform has grown into a critical resource for Black women, connecting them to culturally responsive providers, evidence-based health content, and supportive peer communities. She currently serves on the boards of Peer Health Exchange and We Are Ill. Her impact in the field has been widely recognized. She was named an Aspen Institute's Healthy Communities Fellow in 2022, received the first in Femtech Award by FemFocus, and was honored as a top 50 in digital health by Rock Health in 2021. Ashley's thought leadership has been featured on Good Morning America, CBS News, Essence, Ebony, Business Insider, Forbes, Vogue, among others, and she has shared her insights on health equity in a TEDx talk. All right, y'all, without further ado, let's give it up for Ashley Wisdom. Good morning. Ashley, I'm super excited to have you on Saying Ageless podcast.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. I feel like we have a lot to talk about. So I'm just going to let the conversation go where it goes. I just think you're really fascinating. Your background's amazing. Health in Her Hue is amazing. I read a little bit about you and it said that you grew up in the Bronx. Is there anything about the way that you grew up early on that kind of gave you privy into health disparities or like led you down the path that you went down?
Yeah, so growing up in the Bronx, I think I really had a unique experience of seeing very clearly that the world was inequitable. And so even before I became passionate about healthcare, I was always very justice and equity oriented. And so I went to a public high school for my freshman year. Begged my mom to send me back to public school, went to a public high school in the South Bronx, and just very under resourced, felt like you were walking into a prison every day, going through security, all the things. And then I transferred to an all girl Catholic high school. My mom took me out of that school, and like the experience was very different and so jarring. And I remember thinking, I know I would be a successful student in any environment that I was placed in because that's just who I was. But I remember thinking the opportunities that I had at this Catholic high school that the students and my friends at the other school just would not be able to tap into. And I remember thinking that that was unfair. Riding the
Mm,
subways, the young girl, just seeing how the neighborhoods would shift when you would leave like the Bronx and Harlem and make it to the Upper West, Upper East Side. All of those things, I remember just thinking, like, why is the world so different for different kinds of people? And something about that never really sat well with me. So I would say that my upbringing in that environment definitely oriented me towards justice and really being passionate about justice and equity in all aspects of society. But clearly, my work is now channeling that energy into the healthcare industry.
yeah. So how do we bridge from there to getting to what led you to be passionate about public health in general?
Yeah, so all the women in my family, for the most part, work in healthcare or in kind of some service caregiving oriented work. My mom, when she first came to this country from Jamaica, was a caregiver for two very affluent families. And that also, seeing how they lived compared to how we lived, also really started to open my eyes around why do some people have like all the things? And why do some of us who are working hard not have all the things? Um,
Mm,
but
mm,
going back to what led me to healthcare, all the women in my family became nurses assistants. And so I was supposed to be, the first gen who grew up in the United States and become a doctor. And I was really passionate about healthcare and becoming a physician because I
mm,
saw how much the women in my family enjoyed, working in the healthcare field. But when I got to college, I recognized that I was only really pursuing becoming a physician because of the status that I thought, would come with it, wanting to make my family proud. But I realized that I wasn't really passionate about the provision of clinical care. I was
mm,
much more interested in policy and the business of healthcare, because we treat healthcare like a commodity and not a
Mhm.
right in this country. And I was like, public health feels like more my jam than being Dr. Wisdom. And so I found my way into the public health world, which was a great merger of both policy and business for in the context of healthcare.
Wow, cool. What did you take away from working in public health and then now transitioning to being an entrepreneur and launching your own solution, to the inequities that you see?
Yeah, so my time working with the healthcare system really showed me just how broken and flawed the US healthcare system is. Um,
Mm,
if I
mhm.
could say I took anything from it, I that's really what I got. Like, this system is terrible. And it's not working for most people, but it's for sure not really working for people who look like us, especially Black women. And that
Right.
was the biggest takeaway for me, experiencing racism in one of the roles that I worked in within
Mm,
healthcare. That also was the catalyst for me being enraged by the state of affairs when it comes to healthcare in this country. And I channeled that
mm.
rage into building Health in Her Hue, because I really wanted to support Black women in particular, women of color more broadly, with navigating this US healthcare system that was largely built in our bodies, but was not designed to be safe and effective for us.
Got you. What are the specific things? I like to get down to the specifics and the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
child. And I could what the reason why is because I think it's really great to have these conversations because then we can all pinpoint what are the things that we need to
Right.
change. So were there like specific aggravating things that you then turned into solutions in your own business?
Yeah. So the first being, I that experience of racism, that particular role that I mentioned, it really the woman who was the head of the department was a physician, and she was like blatantly racist. There's like microaggressions, and then there's like blatant racism. That's the type of time she was on. And I remember thinking, this woman
Mm,
is a physician. She was a pediatrician at that. I'm like, I can't even
mm, mm,
imagine if this is how she's treating faculty and staff who work in her department. I can only imagine what her interactions are with patients who look like me. And that really was frightening. And I'm like, how do we as Black people, how can we be more intentional about really vetting the providers that we're seeing to make sure that we're being seen by providers who will
mm,
take our best interests have our best interests at heart. So that was part of
mm,
the genesis of Health and Her Hue, having this provider directory to make it easier for women of color to find culturally responsive and racially concordant healthcare providers if that's their preference. The other pain point that I experience working in public health and just being a Black woman, when you Google certain conditions or different topics, you don't see yourself reflected in health content. You see a lot of, white people, um,
yeah.
content that's focused and geared towards different, patient populations that don't reflect you. And so I just remember feeling like there's a dearth of spaces that are dedicated to Black women and Black women's health. And I'm not seeing
Mm,
health information being shared in a way that's relevant to us because so much of our lived experience is tied to our health outcomes. And so if we're not talking about the racism and
yeah.
the sexism and the environmental racism that Black women and Black people are having to experience, how are we going to effectively talk about these different conditions that we're disproportionately impacted by? So that was a missing piece for me when it came to health content that I was seeing online that didn't make that connection. And so that I decided I was going to create health content in a way that would be actionable for Black women, but also relevant in that it would connect conditions to our lived experiences and how it's all interconnected, because a lot of times you see Black women are more likely to die from maternal mortality, more likely to be obese, more likely to have diabetes, but we're not talking about the structural, political, social factors, environmental factors that are resulting in those outcomes being what they are, and not making it seem like there's something inherently wrong with Black women.
That's good. Mm-mm-mm. Yes, totally. Totally, totally. I feel like, one of the things that frustrates me about racism in healthcare is that you can't say, I mean, I tell this to my patients all the time. You can't say that just because someone is Black, they're going to provide you with care that
Right.
is empathetic and that is supportive and all the things. And so I feel like there's almost a deeper conversation even beyond race that needs to happen because there's a mindset. I was just talking about this last night with a group
Mhm.
of people because they were asking me how I got into being a healthcare professional. I was like, well, there's this lack of empathy in medicine and in healthcare in general, where I feel like people were supposed to take this oath to
Mhm.
do no harm. But as soon as they see something, there's a mindset. Sometimes it's because they see someone that doesn't look like them and they make assumptions, right? And then there's the racism and the prejudice, right? But some of it is ego, child. Some of it is straight up like health provider ego.
Ego, elitism, all the things. Mhm.
That's what I noticed because there's this mindset of I know everything. You're just here to take my
Mhm.
instructions instead of this
Okay.
collaborative situation where you're seeing the whole human being in front of you and being like, wow, I need to understand what brought this person to this place. Like the curiosity, right? But because the people I was speaking to last night, it was a funny conversation, but I've heard this from many people where her
Mhm.
mother had cancer, got well through holistic means, came back to that doctor, and the doctor was like, and this was a doctor that told her she wasn't going to live. Came back to the doctor, and the doctor, instead of being like, wow, what happened? What did you do? I'm so excited for you and this new chapter of life. The doctor was like, oh, well, I can't recommend that to other patients and, good luck and blah, 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 blah. What kind? What? I said-
Yeah, because
so I'm just curious. So like, how do you? The reason I'm bringing this up is because I love what you're doing, but then I also have that in the back of my mind because I know that not all care providers are created equal. So, like, is there a way for us to vet people, even
Mhm.
in general, of any race, but also even Black care professionals, to make sure that we're all on the same page about how we're treating the patients?
I'm so glad you asked that question because Health Interview, I feel like we're largely known for the fact that we have this provider directory to make it easier for Black women to find Black or BIPOC healthcare clinicians and providers. But I always say, and I'm glad that that's what we're known for. But I always say that we're not saying that Black patients should only be seen by Black doctors, nor are we saying that there aren't any
Mm,
Black or BIPOC providers that also don't have their biases. What we are really trying to
mm,
do is connect women to culturally responsive providers. And I like the word culturally responsive more than culturally competent because I don't think you can ever be competent in someone
mm,
else's lived experience. Um, so we
mm,
have providers of all races and ethnicities on the Health and Her Hue platform who are self-identifying as a provider that is committed to providing culturally responsive care. Is that foolproof? No, but we allow our members to leave reviews about if they've seen a provider on the Health and Her Hue platform, they're able to review the provider and rate them based on front desk ease of access and creating an appointment, the front desk staff, because we want to separate front desk experience from bedside manner of the clinician. And then also the bedside manner of the clinician. And then the fourth criteria is how the patient or member perceive the provider's cultural responsiveness and cultural sensitivity. And so they're able to rate them
mm,
across those four different criteria as well as leave a written review. And we're doing that so that we can, we want our members to be honest about their experience with the providers. And we also want to relay any feedback to the providers that would be helpful for them to have. But that's one of the ways that we're trying to, mitigate having issues with, the providers on our platform. We're looking at the ratings and reviews. And if we see any providers getting consistently negative reviews, that's an indication that we need to relay that feedback to them and then reconsider whether or not we want them to remain in our directory.
So good. And honestly, I've noticed that becoming a norm across newer platforms and things. And I feel
Mhm.
like it is necessary to check health professionals. Because if there's no one checking you or providing feedback, you could just do whatever you like. You could tell me to go home, I'm gonna die today, and no one's gonna relay that feedback. No one's gonna be like, hey, that was not the best response to that patient. No one's gonna, yeah. So I really think that needs to be a standard in general for healthcare. Doctors need to be reviewed. I always tell my patients, if they do something super crazy, find out their license number. People need to be reported. I think that one of the things, it's such a vulnerable thing to be a patient. And I've experienced it myself. I've almost died in healthcare situations, even as a healthcare provider, when I knew what was going. And when you're in those vulnerable situations and you don't have anyone to advocate for you, it can be really scary to speak up. It can be really, sometimes you don't even have the energy to speak up. And so it's almost like you almost need like a buddy, who's there, who's like that buddy's ready to pop off. Like, what did you say about her? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but there's no one there. So a lot of times you leave that experience and you wish you would have said something, or you wish you would have done something, or
Mhm.
you wish you would have got the license number, but you just weren't in the state of mind because you were not well. And so a lot of patients, I feel like, are not able to advocate for themselves because they were just in a bad state that day.
And that's another thing that we're trying to improve or support Black women, women of color with. We want them to feel empowered to engage in shared decision making with their providers. And so that is what a lot of our
Mm,
content is focused on, is like, here's how to like more effectively have this conversation with your provider. Or if they're saying this, ask them
mhm.
that. We do these virtual community conversation events each month as another resource for women to ask a healthcare provider that may not be their actual provider, but ask them questions that they may have forgotten to ask at their last appointment, or may have been too intimidated to ask their doctor. This is another space and resource where they can ask trusted healthcare providers their pressing questions. And that's really what I want more Black women to feel empowered to do. Like, your clinician is not a god in your life. They should not be perceived as that. They
Yeah.
should be seen as a partner that you can inform them, because you know your body more than any doctor who has a medical degree will ever know your body. And that's no shade to doctors, that's just the fact. And so we should feel empowered as patients to partner with our provider to make decisions that are in the best interest of our health and in best interest with what we perceive as a quality of life.
Yeah, that's so good. And I agree. This is why I'm in business as well. But I think that it's almost like there needs to be solutions on both sides. So you're providing a solution on this side. On the other side, it's like, child, who's going to deal with these medical schools and all of these people who need to understand what it means to have a healing presence, who need to understand what it means to have proper bedside manner and to communicate empathically difficult things to patients, right? There's so many things that people tell me that doctors say to them. I'm like, that canceled, fire them. Because you just
Right.
shouldn't even be saying that to me. You shouldn't ever say to someone, you can never have a child.
Oh
That, who are
my God,
you?
right.
Are you Jesus? Last time I checked, you weren't Jesus. So we don't need to be having this conversation, sir, ma'am, whoever you are. So there's work that needs to be done on both sides, but I love that you're doing great work on the side that you can. You know what I mean? And it's working. So let's talk about health and her hue. So besides the what I was introduced to it via the provider directory, and it's helped me help my patients find people in different states where they're at that may be able to help them, right? Um, but now you've expanded. So can you tell us like the full, like everything that you
Yeah.
guys do
So yeah,
now?
I love this question because yeah, I feel like we're really known for the provider directory. I'm like, we have more than just the so we also have our content library. So I like to say we have the three C's: connections, content, and community. The connections is primarily through that provider directory, connecting women to providers through that searchable directory. Then content, we create culturally tailored health content, articles and videos that live in our content library. We also have this new feature called CarePoint. We initially had it focused on fibroids because we know that fibroids disproportionately impacts Black women. So we started with that condition first. But the way CarePoint works, I kind of like to describe it as a kind of like a vetted TikTok, but you know that the videos that are being created by actual clinicians, board certified physicians. So CarePoint women can come and ask, type in a question that they have, like they would in Google or Chat GPT. And if we already have a video response for the question that someone's asking, it'll auto populate and there will be a 1 to 2 minute video response from an OB-GYN or a physician answering that question. If we don't have a video response for that question, it'll enter into our database. And on the back end, we work with our team of clinical content creators to create a video response to that member's question. So that's how CarePoint works. And we're going to be expanding to other conditions beyond fibroids in the new year. And then under community, we have our community forum so that women can connect with other women of color who may have a similar diagnosis as them or may have a similar healthcare journey or goal. So that's a space where women can connect with one another. And then the last solution that we have to offer is our Care Squad programs. And these are completely virtual digital support groups focused on different conditions. So we have Care Squads focused on fibroids, endometriosis, postpartum recovery, mental health. We're going to be launching one on perimenopause. It's a 4-month program. You have access to culturally tailored health education. You're matched with your Care Squad of 6 to 8 other women who also have that condition. And you meet with your Care Squad on a biweekly basis with a Health and Her Hue facilitator to have conversations around what you're navigating, get advice from other women who are in your Care Squad about how they're managing their condition. And so it's a great model of combining both education and a community for support, because that's a core part of our belief as a company is that care is done better in community than in isolation. I love Bell Hooks, and she has a great quote that I drew inspiration from. Very rarely are any of us healed in isolation. And so that's something I believe deeply that we are healed, we are cared for when we are connected in community and not moving individualistically like this white supremacist capitalistic society would like us to opt into.
Totally. Awesome. Agree. Are the facilitators
So
medical
the
doctors?
videos and the content that live within the Care Squad curricula are developed by physicians, but the actual facilitator, they're not clinicians. So they may be licensed clinical social workers, but they are primarily just trained facilitators. We didn't want to have nurses or MDs as a facilitators to not have anyone confuse it as medical care.
Okay. Okay. I understand. Interesting. And where do you want to see the future of healthcare going in
I really
general?
wanted to see
Just
it more
curious.
personalized. Everyone's talking about AI and I'm not one of those highly skeptical people when it comes to AI, but I do think there needs to be parameters to keep it a bit, keep it regulated, to keep it safe, and to ensure that we're not exacerbating biases and all those things. So I feel like it's important to just say that. But I really see the future and want to see the future of healthcare be more personalized and not just like when it comes to biometrics or genetics, but how are you getting care and how am I getting care that's tailored to me and my lived experience and the context in which I live in. I think that that's a significantly missing piece when it comes to the way that care is delivered now. It's kind of like boilerplate, and you're just kind of having to fit within the construct that the current system has created. But I really think the future needs to be personalized and inclusive of lived experiences and environmental contexts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, I ask myself this question often because my answer changes regularly, but I feel like we are missing the mark. I just would like to see the entire system kind of toppled and focused on actual patient outcomes, like meaning whatever it takes to get that person actually healthy. If that becomes the goal, if we move away from pathogenesis, which that's what medicine is. So I don't know that they'll be able to do that. But if we can combine the worlds of salutogenesis, promotion
Mhm.
of health, and holistic with pathogenesis in a way that's synergistic, like they do this in China. They have hospitals and they have an acupuncture wing. You know what I mean? And how cool would it be if like we finally got as a country into a place with healthcare where there were, okay, I go in for, I tell people this all the time because we've helped people shrink fibroids, get rid of endometriosis symptoms, PCOS, all kinds of stuff, just diet, supplements, and lifestyle. So what if I went into my OBGYN and instead of her being like, girl, you need a hysterectomy, she was like, hey, you should see this holistic nutritionist, come back, let's check
Mhm.
it at this point. You see what I'm saying? And then if we can decide if we need to
Yeah,
have a surgery and if we could remove them, and then and because you've done the holistic work,
yeah,
your body will be reset. There needs to be this like, because I don't like the demonization of either, because child, I ain't going to my acupuncturist can solve a lot of problems for me. My Chinese medicine doctor solves a lot of problems for me. But if I break a leg, I am
yeah.
not going to her. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna go get my leg set. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's room for everything, but the I think the attitude of everyone involved has to be adjusted, and the end goal, has to be: we want people to win. We want people to live long. We want people to be healthy. Not we want money. We need money from the health, and I that's going to be a hard shift,
It
with
is.
insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies and all this stuff.
Healthcare is big, 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 big business.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting people to shift their mindset, and there's all this talk about value-based care, which is exactly which would lead to that, the incentivizing of getting providers to care more about driving better outcomes for their patients versus the current fee-for-service approach to healthcare, where you just get paid for seeing a patient, irrespective of whether or not you're helping them get better or not. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we'll see. There are some folks who are pushing for it,
Let's
but
see. There's some people that are already doing it. Like I met with people at the Cleveland Clinic. They're doing really interesting. They're incentivizing doctors to get their patients healthy. There are people trying, but I think it needs to be everybody, and we all need to be on board. And I also honestly believe that you can still make a whole lot of profit, and also at least keep your soul and know that you've helped people, by changing, your focus and really making it patient centered. Like, I really want these people to be well. You know what I mean? Versus how many meds can I sell today?
and the unfortunate thing is that there are just so many different stakeholders in healthcare and have different incentives that they are, being drawn and influenced by, that it makes it
Mhm.
really hard to get everyone kind of on one accord. So,
On one accord.
but
Yeah.
that's where like the policy piece, and I'm not doing as much policy work right now, building health in Her Hue, but that's where I get really excited and passionate about policy and how policy can
Mhm.
be used as a mechanism to change incentives and to change behavior.
Mhm.
But yeah, I won't get on my soapbox about that right
No, no, no. I love it. It's great. So that would be more like changing the actual law, some of these actual laws.
now.
Hmm.
Some
Are
laws.
there some in particular that you think off the top of your head that would be really instrumental?
I have to chew on that a bit more because it's like, if you change one thing, then you have to consider the implications that it may have on other. I know that there's
Yes.
been a lot of talk, and I've been trying to stay abreast of the the government kind of man or having a strong influence in how they're negotiating the price of drugs for pharmaceutical companies. And pharma
Yes.
companies are not happy about that because they're saying that that's going to stifle innovation and have people less incentivized to, push new drugs and or come up with new drugs and medications. So I've like been trying to stay tapped into that kind of stuff so that when I'm asked questions about this, like, how would you think about this policy or what policies do you think are important? I'm trying to stay as in the know, but I still have some more, some reading and listening to do.
No props, no props. So how can people follow Health in Her Hue or find Health in Her Hue and get involved? I know there's different ways they can get involved.
Yeah, so we are right now on a website. We used to have an app. We no longer have an app in the Apple app or Google
Oh,
Play Store. Yeah, we are just completely online, but our website is mobile friendly, so you can still interact with us via, your mobile phone. We probably will launch an app in a couple of years, but for right now, we're just at healthandherhue.com. And people can also follow us on social media on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We're currently on Twitter, aka X, but we likely will be divesting from the X platform soon. So I wouldn't encourage folks to follow us there, but definitely on Instagram. We have a strong following on Instagram and push a lot of great content there. And then would love for people to create an account on the Health and Her Hue website at healthandherhue.com.
awesome. I'm on there, y'all, so y'all can go find me if you want. Um, thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for this conversation. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you. And everybody listening, go check it out. It's very helpful. I found it a very helpful website. I recommend it often to my patients, especially if you just want to just check out a healthcare provider. Just go over there and browse, child. You'll find something.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Of course, of course. All right, it is time to wrap up today's episode. I hope this conversation with Ashley Wisdom shed a light on why personalized and equitable healthcare is so essential, especially for Black women and communities of color. Your health journey is unique, and having access to care that truly understands your needs can make all the difference. If you're looking for holistic, culturally responsive support on your wellness journey, my team and I at Staying Ageless Coaching are here to help you. Check out our programs at stayingagelesscoaching.com to get expert guidance on balancing your hormones, reaching your body goals, and reclaiming your health naturally. As Audre Lorde once wisely said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. Prioritizing your health is not just about feeling good, sis. It's about taking control and ensuring that you get the care you deserve. That's a wrap for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. You can also connect with me on Instagram at TheRawGirl or visit TheRawGirl.com for more resources. Until next time, stay ageless.